Good morning and welcome to the Tech Valley Center of Gravity in beautiful downtown Troy, New York. My name is Dan Falkenstrom. I am the Facilities and Incubator Director here. So we're going to go on a little bit of a tour today. If you have any questions along the way, please put them in the chat and I will get to them at the end. I'm on my phone today, so it's going to be a little hard to see it while we are en route. So the Center of Gravity, we have been in existence since 2013. Started out as a meetup group, and it was pretty well attended on a regular basis, maybe 15 to 20 people sharing what they do and their projects. And they said, you know what, we can probably get ourselves a building and start one of these newfangled maker spaces that are popping up all over the place. So they got themselves into a 2,000 square foot former off-track bedding location. And on the first day of opening, they signed up 100 members, and they realized, hey, I think we got something here. So fast forward 2 more years and $5 million to 2 blocks away, renovation of the GVS Quacken building. It was a department store built in the 1850s. The landlord had the building for a couple years. Wasn't really sure what to do with it, was thinking about office spaces, but then when we saw the success of the makerspace, realized, oh, hey, I think we have a good anchor tenant here. So the makerspace occupies the first floor in the basement. So where once were hats, scarves, undergarments, are now laser cutters, 3D printers, and all sorts of different things. And the second, third, and fourth floors are occupied by modular office spaces, so spaces with like shared meeting rooms and kitchenettes in the center of all different sizes. So it's a huge mix of startups and established companies. Some of them started out right here in the makerspace and moved up to office spaces upstairs. Some took office space just because they could access a makerspace on the ground floor. So in the before times, we were sitting at about 250 members. We have about 200 or so now. And it's a pretty good mix of people from all walks of life. We're pretty much back up and running to how we were before, just masks at all times, sign in at the check-in station with your temperature, and away you go. So we are a makerspace, open to the public, anyone can join. Getting a membership gives you access to our building. So we're about 13,000 square feet, 81 major tools worth a total of about $180,000. We're broken up into several different zones. So we got woodworking, machining, welding, fiber arts and crafting, electronics, glass fusing and enameling, 3D printing, laser cutting. We've got a Incubator, so that is our children's makerspace where we do all of our STEAM and family programming. And you can also rent space, because when you're making stuff, you need a place to put it. So we rent out square footage by the foot, no lease or long-term commitment. We also have bins, shelves, all sorts of storage space. We put on classes and events, slowly trying to get those back up and running. So we're doing a lot of small attendance classes, pretty much capped at 3 people. We're doing a lot of one-on-one classes. So anything that you don't already know how to do, we'll be able to teach you. And third and finally, we have a manufacturing incubator. So the whole point of this is to help startups navigate the hardware world. So it's a lot of incubators and accelerators focused on helping the business side succeed. But when it comes to navigating design for manufacturing, building a actual productive prototype that will get you some useful information, and working with contract manufacturers or setting up your own manufacturing line, hardware startups need a lot of help with that. So most of our members in general are just hobbyists, people looking to do fun things, but we have about like 25 to 30 active businesses who are running their operations out of here. Well, I just lost my stabilization. Let's see if that comes back. If not, we'll just do it handheld. There we are. So we, couple different membership levels. So Maker and Super Maker are our most popular. So $60 a month gives you access to the building weeknights and weekends. $100 a month gives you access 24/7 to space rental by the square foot. A couple other different options. We have co-working, which is no tool access, family memberships, corporate memberships. So a whole bunch of different ways to get involved with the organization. We have 3 employees, our full-time executive director, Cheryl Kennedy, and myself, the facilities director, and our program specialist, Elizabeth, and everything else is volunteer run. So let's start off with the first half of the building. So on this side is our open workbench space. First come, first serve, whole bunch of different seating options, some public computers, office equipment. So we have a large format plotter, standard copier, scanner, photocopier, office equipment, paper cutters, staplers, that sort of thing. One thing I really like about this space, and so do a lot of other people, is our giant windows. So we have a ridiculous amount of natural light that filters into this space. And they go all along the north and west walls. So our first zone in this corner is our 3D printing zone. So each zone is run by a volunteer zone coordinator. For the 3D printing zone, his name is Dylan. We've got an email address there. So every zone has a whiteboard where people can communicate, and the zone coordinator is responsible for doing safety orientations and for making sure the zone meets the needs of the membership. So once you join as a member, you go through there's a 20-minute orientation video, and that just covers the basics of where the restrooms are and how to not get a parking ticket, how the organization works, the major safety rules, that sort of thing. Then after that, each zone has its own safety orientation. That goes over all the safety rules of the zone. And after that, if you are comfortable and you have the knowledge to operate the equipment, you're more than welcome to do so. And if you don't, that's where the classes come in, and then we'll teach you everything you need to know. So all that safety information, we have a wiki that has all that information there. All the outline of all the major safety rules are posted in each zone, and we have a binder with all of those safety rules as well. So 3D printing zone, bunch of entry-level FDM machines, a whole bunch of prints in process at the moment. So we got a nice Halloween skull there, what looks like a failed skull. Familiar to anyone who 3D prints things, are the fun failures. We have a gentleman who has a grant from the local art center. He's actually doing a mural made of 3D printed parts. So he is printing out a couple hundred of these Troy bricks between our machines and his machines at home. And so that'll be an interesting project to see come together. But we have a slicer program kind of all set with all the parameters necessary to just print right off the bat. So people can just come in with their 3D models, select the printer that they want to use, and then they're all set to go. And then if they want to go deeper into the weeds of playing with settings and the like, then they're more than welcome to. Moving along in the back, this is our CEFQ community room. So the large classroom, any member is allowed to use this space. We'll also rent it out to local organizations or groups that need a meeting space. This is where we are currently streaming the Empire State Maker Faire. Dare I look at the screen? Will it explode the feed? No, it's delayed enough, so we're not gonna see any craziness. Woo, there we are. Connected to the large meeting room is the smaller conference room with a dinosaur. So, small meeting room, boardroom. This table was made by one of our members, Sean Desiree, South End Pallet Works. So she's someone who came in here. She just kind of walked past the makerspace and was like, wow, what is this place? Was kind of interested in woodworking, wasn't too sure. Started playing around with recycled materials and pallets and started making furniture, selling stuff on Etsy. Now she is doing woodwork and art full-time. He's got a grant for a project down in Brooklyn. So really cool that we were able to provide some low-cost access to stuff, to tools, to space, so that she was able to explore her interests. And we had commissioned her to make this nice pallet wood conference table. Leaving the meeting rooms, we have our community kitchen. Socializing over food was a big part of the first makerspace. So we realized that, hey, we got to make sure we include a cooking food socialization spot in the new space. So we've got a pretty nice kitchen. When we were doing group events, we would have our Tuesday night social nights here. It was always the busiest night of the week, 50 to 60 people on a really good day. People cooking food, sharing stuff, sharing ideas. Really, really fun. And we've held a couple cooking classes, or if someone's catered or doing an event in one of the rooms, they can have it catered and use this as meal prep. So it's been a really useful space for us. Outside the kitchen, some lounge areas, couches. Robotron, Miss Pac-Man. Way back over in the corner is our laser cutter, staple in any makerspace. 60 watts, pretty standard, nothing special. Each machine has its own safety card. So this card will remind everyone what are the major safety rules involved in using it, any particular operation notes. It has contact information, so if something goes wrong, you know exactly who to email, and a link to our wiki, which has some more information about the machine. So if you're ever in the Albany area and you go down on Lark Street, go check out Mr. Yamaguchi Designs. Yamar Carter, he's another one who just sort of took a tour randomly and then saw the laser cutter and was like, hey, I can do something fun with this. So he started engraving his artwork onto just random recycled materials, started making lamps and other home decor items. And now he has his own shop. He's got his own laser cutter, CNC machine, 3D printer. So what started out as just like a fun hobby, and maybe I'll just play with this, turned into his lifelong passion and an actual business out of it. Behind the laser cutter, we have the Incubators. This is our kids, children's, family makerspace area. So we have a whole bunch of consumables, small hand tools. We've been a very popular field trip destination for local schools. It's a bit of a mess at the moment, and we're taking this time as an opportunity to reorganize. So we're redoing all of our consumables area. We have these little cubbies and cardboard totes. So each tote is going to have a consumable item in it. It's going to be labeled with a number. So all of the DIY kits that families can come in here and do, some examples. They'll be able to look at the consumables needed, they'll say like, you know, grab boxes 8, 17, and 42, and keep going with your project. We'll also do some free events throughout the year. So the first Saturday of every month, we'll do Steam Powered Saturday. That's just a free hands-on activity sponsored by the Albany Society of Engineers. So kids can come in and do some of those DIY activities. Speaking of sponsors, give a quick shout out to our sponsor wall. So we would not exist without the help of donors and sponsors. So some of the major ones: Rensselaer County IDA, Empire State Development, Bryce Properties, National Grid, Fuse Hub, CEG, GE Healthcare, NISTEC. So any one of our sponsorship organizations gets a spot on our wall and included in print advertising. thank you very much to everyone who helps make this place possible. Continuing along, so I mentioned we rent out floor space. This little cubicle here is a spot rented by 2 of our long-term members. So they have all sorts of projects that overflow their workspace at home. So they have space here where they can do whatever they like. See all sorts of crazy maker spacer-y stuff going on. Over here is our model shop area. So a bunch of small power tools for the first floor. So we've got your Dremels, dust collector, this really adorable baby shear. It's great for cutting printed circuit boards or pieces of copper, grommet presses, hot glue guns, tool chest, labeled. Everyone always needs utility knives and scissors. And behind that is our electronic zone. So oscilloscopes, soldering irons, power supplies, everything you need for electrical work. Also incredibly useful is this microscope. If you're working on really small components, also people who are doing machining and are really trying to hone in on a perfect surface finish, microscope is an extremely powerful tool. This thing is quite popular. Whole bunch of components, kind of sort of organized. So the makerspace doesn't provide any consumables, but we do have a consumables area in pretty much every zone. And that's all contributed to by members. So anyone is free to use whatever materials are available. If you use a whole bunch, please replace what you use. So wires, resistors, all that fun stuff. Clean workbenches, ready to go. If you need some yarn, please come on by and grab some yarn. We got a huge donation and are looking to spread the love. But we have plenty available in our fiber arts zone. So sewing, knitting, crafting, jewelry work, pretty much any type of crafting that can't fit anywhere else will happen here. So a couple sewing machines, serger, Cricut vinyl cutter. So this is one of 2 vinyl cutters. We also have a 20-inch vintage Roland from the 80s, but still works great, and it is great for really large projects. Kansu industrial sewing machine, good for leather, canvas, thicker stuff. Goes crazy fast, really needs a VFD to slow it down, but it is quite powerful. Front corner, more innovation spaces. So a mix of small businesses who don't need a whole office, rent space here, use this as their workspace, and more people who just have too many projects overflowing the kitchen table, need a place to put them. Space contains things, all manner of sharp, fragile, and expensive. Don't break stuff. This is a new tenant, Albany cell phone repair. So we now have someone who does professional cell phone and electronics repair right in the building. Mailboxes. So if you want to use this as your business address, you can get your mail delivered here. All right, now we're going to head downstairs to all the fun, noisy, messy stuff. I can hear the planer in use. See if we can get him to quiet down for the tour. All right, hopefully that's not too annoying. We'll start on the other end. All right, so in the center here, we have our more consumables, shared materials. More space rental, so we'll rent out bins, shelves, lockers. In this back corner is our machine shop. So all sorts of tools for working with metal, slop sink, flammables cabinet, vertical mill, lathe, all the associated tooling. Do our very best to label as many things as possible, because so many people who are new at making have no idea what some of this stuff is, and something that might just look like a scrap piece of metal is actually a really important measuring instrument. So always eyeing on education and teaching. Surface plate, lathe tools. This is really nifty. Tapping station, so you can always get 90-degree taps into your holes. All threaded taps. Little sandblaster. Large hydraulic press. Working through the back corner here. Bandsaw, drill press. Brake for bending sheet metal. And right behind it is the shear for cutting sheet metal. Glass kilns for fusing and enameling of glass. Whoop. Hey, there we are. Some examples of some glasswork projects. Got some slumping, some stained glass. Enameled jewelry. A lot of fun stuff. Glass Zone is quite popular. Anytime we do any glasswork classes, they frequently sell out. More storage bins. This gentleman here decided to hack his storage bin to meet his needs. So it's got space for all of his power tools. It's got power running to it. It's got drawers for consumables. So yeah, definitely a maker. In the center, woo, hello. Here's our welding room. So angle grinders, TIG welding, MIG welding, bench grinders. Recent acquisition is this horizontal bandsaw. So needs a little bit of work to get up and running, but chopping large pieces of metal has been something that has been asked for quite a lot. So we were finally able to make that happen.
Arlo, what? You're on. What? Oh, we seem to be having some technical difficulties. Stick around, and we'll have them fixed in just a jiffy. Just don't panic, because there's no need to panic. Everything's fine. We don't need to panic.
Okay, apologies for the interruption. But here we are. This is our wood shop. So all your standard major woodworking tools. Mike here is using the planer, the table saw today. Saw stop table saw. Someone's working on a very large desk. All of your handheld power tools. Safety equipment located right outside. Do you know where your first aid kit is? Is it fully stocked? People stole all the Band-Aids? Important thing to double check. Last section is our prototyping center. So this is kind of like the next step up of a makerspace. So all the equipment in here has a cost for training and a cost per hour for use. So this is available to anyone, but it is specifically targeted to those who are transitioning from prototype to manufacturing. They're looking for short-run manufacturing space, or existing businesses that have occasional need for a large piece of equipment, but don't have the ability to afford their own or have the space for it. So this is our 5x10 CNC router, so good for woods and plastics. All of the tooling is labeled in a drawer, ready to go. We also have speed and feed documentation all set for common materials. So we've really set this up to be very accommodating of beginners. So it's very easy to kind of just start learning the basics, use the tools and parameters that we have laid out, and then you can go on your CNC adventure from there. Things, we have a vacuum former, 2 foot by 4 foot. So it's popular to make MDF molds on the router, then put a sheet of plastic in. So it's good for making packaging or enclosures. We have another laser cutter, 130 watts, much larger and faster than the one upstairs. Sam is currently cutting out some MDF parts. And back over here, we have some more commercial grade 3D printing. So Formlabs 3B resin printer with biocompatible materials, and the entire Formlabs clean and cure setup. And then on the FDM side, Stratasys F270. So just like the FDM printers upstairs, but a little faster, a little more reliable. Very popular among members and companies that just want to print something and want to work. They don't want to futz with problems. One of those companies is United Aircraft Technologies. They went through our manufacturing incubator program. The founder, he invented a new way to clamp wiring harnesses on aircraft. He suffered from carpal tunnel syndrome after being a mechanic in the Army. So the stupid little wire ties just hurt his hand. So he came up with a new way to do that. And they're doing really good. They use this space as prototyping, and they're doing a lot of work with Boeing, NASA, a lot of major aerospace companies. And then the rest of the space down here is just open square footage available to rent, so people can store their raw materials, finished product. And back through the double doors is a large freight elevator. So if you wanted to order an entire pallet of plywood, you can have it shipped here, brought down the elevator, roll it straight through over to router, and begin cutting. And then we hold material handling stuff as well, carts, hand trucks, dollies, all that fun stuff. More safety equipment. And that is the tour. We'll go back to my seat over here. If anyone has any questions, I will check out the chat. Unfortunately, lost anything that was in the first half there. No idea what happened. I think my phone overheated. That's a new one. So hopefully that was useful, entertaining. Apologies again for all of the snafus. Flip the camera around. So yeah, any questions? I'd be happy to answer them. Unfortunately, I don't have the YouTube chat up here, so if there's anything in that, I'd appreciate any copy and paste into the Zoom chat. But if not, thank you very much for attending. Age demographics of users. It's pretty all over the place. We have a pretty good mix of students from up at Rensselaer Polytechnic. We have retirees, so GE, Schenectady, a lot of retired engineers who are in the area enjoying. So it's a pretty wide range. I'd say it pretty much covers everything pretty evenly. Thank you very much. Glad you enjoyed it. I'm very much looking forward to seeing all the other spaces this afternoon. Some of the events that we have been held at TV Cog. So the coolest events, let's see. We did an Enable event about a year or two ago. That was with local middle school children. So it was, if you're not familiar with Enable, they provide open source designs for 3D printed prosthetics. So this was a multi-week course. It was free thanks to the sponsors. And they got to hear from local industry experts that talked about 3D printing in engineering or in biomaterials development. So it was really cool for them to kind of see how this stuff is actually used in the real world. And they got to design a 3D printed prosthetic to be given to a local girl who had been born without half of her forearm. So they were really excited to do something for a local person and have a real meaningful impact. Also, every year, Troy hosts a Victorian stroll, which is like a Christmas event, first weekend of December. And that's usually a very exciting time. All the volunteers come in to give tours. Everyone dresses up all fancy. We have several of our members are selling stuff that they have made throughout the year. So it's really exciting to see people showing off what they've made. And just hearing from people who come through on a tour and had no idea that this place was here, and getting to see all the cool stuff and possibilities. The center of gravity is probably a really good Mario Kart course. So one of the local companies, sponsors who has had a membership here, Vlon Studios, they're the main designers behind the new Mario Kart game. And the very initial prototype was made on right in our building. And that's kind of what started that whole product. So actually, if you're interested in that game or just in product development or prototyping in general, we'll be hosting a talk the first Wednesday of November. It is at noon, and Vlon Studios is going to be kind of going through their entire prototyping process and talking about how the game was developed. So that'll be an interesting time if you're that at all seems interesting. What is the latest project you've worked on in the space? Let's see. So my hobby is restoring old motorcycles. So that's actually how I got involved in the space originally. I needed access to a metalworking lathe. So I started out making motorcycle parts, then became the volunteer treasurer, and now I work here. So that's been an interesting development. Latest project that I've worked on for myself, though, that isn't something for the space. I don't remember actually. Oh no, I made a little welded like tabletop fire pit. That was a kit that I acquired a couple years ago. Hadn't been able to put it together yet, but it was an opportunity to work on TIG welding and just work on my skills there. So there we go. Instead of looking at my face as we wait for the hour to conclude, we'll kind of leave you with some outside views of Troy. Another great thing these windows are for is for the entertainment of watching people try to parallel park and grading them accordingly. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us on the tour, especially anyone who's out there running makerspaces, trying to make the dream work. It's really interesting to hear how everyone approaches setting stuff up and how the communities work. Yeah, thank you very much to the entire crew at Empire State Maker Faire for making this possible.